Okay, get ready for this. What if I told you that a 3,000-year-old prayer, a prayer just about water, actually held a secret about how stars are born? A secret that, modern science has only just started to figure out. That's what we're going to do. We're going to connect an ancient Vedic hymn to the heart of astrophysics. And believe me, the link is absolutely mind-blowing. So this line, it's from something called the Apahasukta, a really ancient Vedic hymn. And yeah, on the surface, it's just a beautiful, simple praise of water, right? But you have to understand, these ancient seers, they weren't just talking about the water you'd find in a river. No, they were getting at something much, much bigger. Maybe even a map of the entire universe. Yeah, you see, this wasn't just some casual prayer for a clean drink of water. This was part of a really profound ritual, a kind of invocation that was designed to connect a person, you, with the very fabric of existence itself. The seers who wrote this, they saw water, what they called appa, as way more than just a substance. To them, it was a divine principle, a conscious, life-giving force. And this hymn, it was basically their spiritual technology for tapping into that force, to achieve a kind of transformation. So, what was the real goal here? What were they actually trying to do with this ritual? Well, it goes way beyond just, purification. The mantra itself lays out a whole three-part spiritual journey. Okay, so here's how it works. First, you have the invocation and purification. This is about waking up to the divine power that's already in the water. Then, and this is the key part, you ask for its rasa, its most auspicious essence. Now, scholars think this rasa is actually a code word for bhakti, which means pure devotion or divine love. And the final step? Union and rebirth. The whole point is to achieve a complete spiritual rebirth, basically a journey from just being matter to experiencing pure bliss. All right, now to really truly get the power of this mantra, we have to zoom way out. We need to look at how these ancient thinkers understood the creation of the entire universe. And they saw it as a sequence, a progression, moving from the most subtle, intangible thing to the most dense and physical. So their model of creation starts with akasha, that's pure space or ether. From that space, vayu emerges, which is gas or air. From that gas comes agni, fire, pure energy. And then from that fire comes apa, water. Now, just hold on a second. Let that sink in. Fire creating water. That sounds completely backward, doesn't it? It sounds impossible. Or it doesn't. Well, this is where it gets crazy. This is where our ancient prayer smashes right into modern astrophysics. Because that sequence, the one that sounds so impossible, from space to gas to fire to water, that is exactly the story of how stars are born. This is the big aha moment, you guys. Okay, just look at this comparison. The parallel is absolutely stunning. Both stories, ancient and modern, start with a vast, empty space, the primordial vacuum. Then, what's the first thing to appear? Gas. For the scientists, it's a giant molecular cloud. That gas cloud collapses, heats up, and bam, it ignites into a star, a colossal ball of fire. So Vayu becomes Agni, and then comes that final, totally mind-bending step. Out of that fire, water is born. So you're probably asking, okay, but how does fire actually make water? And the answer is deep inside the star itself. See, a star's core is this insane nuclear furnace. It's forging heavier elements, and one of those key elements is oxygen. Then, when that star eventually dies, it explodes and scatters all that freshly made oxygen across space. Later on, that oxygen finds some hydrogen, and they bond to form, you guessed it, H2O, water. So it's not a metaphor, it's literal. The cosmic fire of a star forges the main ingredient for water. It's just, wow. Thousands of years later, modern science confirms that the ancient sequence was spot on. And this is just a brilliant example of how two totally different ways of knowing the world, ancient intuition on one hand and modern science on the other, can end up at the exact same profound truth, even though they're speaking completely different languages. Think about it. The Vedic seer said, to find spirit, you have to find the divine waters. That was their guiding principle. Now fast forward thousands of years. What's the #1 guiding mantra at NASA when they're searching for life on other planets? Follow the water. It's the same idea. Both of them are pointing to this absolute fundamental connection between water and life itself. Okay, but this whole grand cosmic story, it doesn't just stay out there in space. It comes right back down to Earth. right back down to us, to the very cells in your body. And this is where it gets really, really personal. So what's this number, 73%? Well, that's roughly the amount of water that makes up your brain and your heart. Your lungs, they're about 83% water. We are, and this is not an exaggeration, we are literally walking, talking vessels of cosmic water. And that, right there, is the ultimate secret of that ancient prayer. The ritual, it was never just about cleaning some water in a bowl. It was a conscious act of realignment. It was about purifying the 70% of you that is water, and reminding that inner ocean of where it came from, its divine cosmic origin. The universe outside is reflected in the universe inside, the macrocosm in the microcosm. So that leaves us with this final big question to think about. If the ancient seers and the modern scientists are both right, if the cosmos is born from water, and if you and I are made of that very same star-forged water, then what does it truly, deeply mean to be alive? To be a conscious part of this incredible cosmos?
You know, when we think of technology, our minds usually jump to silicon chips and circuits, right? But what if I told you that some of the most powerful technologies are actually ancient? They're hidden in plain sight, tucked away in simple rituals that we might just glance over. Well, today, we're going to unlock one of these incredible spiritual technologies. It's a Vedic mantra that uses something as simple as water to aim for something truly profound, a total transformation of the self.
So, here's the big question, the one that frames this whole thing. Can a simple ritual with water really lead to a spiritual rebirth? I mean, it sounds kind of out there, doesn't it? A few drops of water, a few ancient words, and that can trigger something so huge? Well, that is the bold claim of this mantra. So let's dive in and see exactly how this is all supposed to work.
Okay, so before we even get into the mantra itself, the words, we've got to look at the physical actions, because the power here isn't just in the sound. No, it's about how the action and the intention fuse together. The ritual itself is what sets the stage for everything else to come.
And the process itself is on the surface incredibly simple. First, you mark the forehead, and think about that. It's the symbolic seat of our consciousness. Then, you sprinkle purified water. And finally, this is the key part. You recite the mantra. That's what activates the water, charging the whole physical act with this incredibly deep spiritual purpose.
All right, now for the mantra itself. And this is so important. It's not just some random chant. This is the beginning of a direct, respectful conversation. The person performing the ritual isn't just talking about the water. They're talking to the water, like it's a conscious divine force. That's a huge shift in perspective.
So let's break down that opening line because it's fascinating. First, the practitioner addresses the Appa, which means the waters. But they're not talking to H2O. They're talking to a divine presence in the water. Then they ask for Maya Bhuva, which is basically blessings of every kind, worldly and spiritual. And then, get this, the word dadatana. It's not a polite please. It's more like a direct, respectful command. You should bestow this. This really shows that the waters are seen as this powerful entity that can actually grant blessings.
But okay, what kind of blessings are we actually talking about here? It's really important to note that this is not a prayer for, a new car or winning the lottery. Not at all. The entire focus is spiritual. The plea is for one thing and one thing only, a deep connection to the supreme source of everything.
And the mantra gets super specific about what this supreme source is even like. It's asking the waters to connect the practitioner to a being that has three main qualities. First, there's Urja, that's the unshakable, constant energy behind everything. Then Maha, the magnificent, the exalted reality itself. And finally, Chakshus, which literally means the eye. It's the source of all wisdom, all sight, the very thing that gives us the ability to perceive the divine in the first place.
Okay, so this brings us to the absolute core of the mantra. We've established who is being spoken to, the divine waters. We know what the ultimate goal is, connection to the supreme source. And now the practitioner makes their central, most important request. This is really the heart of the whole thing.
Just listen to how this line sounds. Yo vash shivatamo rasaha. What it means is that most auspicious essence of yours. So the mantra is asking for the very best part, the purest, the most benevolent thing that the waters have to offer. But what is that essence?
Well, here's the reveal. That most auspicious essence, the Shivatama Rasa, is bhakti, pure, unconditional devotion. You could almost call it the ultimate spiritual currency. See, it's not about getting something material. It's about receiving the capacity to love the divine with no strings attached. That is the core request. So, okay, how should this gift of devotion be given? This next part is just beautiful. The mantra uses this incredibly intimate metaphor, Ushati Riva Matara, which means like loving mothers. The person is asking the divine waters to give them this essence as freely, as lovingly, and as naturally as a mother nourishes her own child. It's just, wow.
So you might be wondering, why ask for devotion? I mean, what's the point of that? Well, this next part of the mantra clarifies the real objective. Because it turns out that bhakti, this devotion, isn't the end goal itself. It's the vehicle that takes you on the ultimate spiritual journey.
The practitioner makes their full intention crystal clear. They say, directly, "We approach you, O waters."
But we're not doing it for you. Not really. We're approaching you as a means to reach him.
And ultimately, the goal is to enter his sacred abode. So you see, the waters aren't the final stop. They are the sacred path, the conduit to the ultimate goal, which is union with the divine.
All right, so let's bring it all home now. You've got the physical action of the ritual, you've got the intentional sound of the mantra, and you've got this profound goal of union. They all come together now for one final, absolutely transformative request.
The whole mantra builds to this one powerful line, Apo Janayatha Cha Na. It means, and O waters, enliven us, or to put it more profoundly, give us a spiritual birth. I mean, this is it. This is the climax of the entire process. It's the final ask for a complete and total transformation.
So, if you boil it all down, there's a really clear formula at play here, right? You've got the physical action, marking the body with that divine water. You've got the intent, charging the water with the mantra's sacred purpose. And what's the desired results? A new birth into a higher state of consciousness. It's a powerful equation, really. Physical action plus focused intent equals profound transformation.
And that just leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought, doesn't it? This mantra, it's a complete spiritual technology. It's a key to unlocking consciousness, and it's all packaged in a simple ritual with water. It really makes you wonder, what other incredible keys to understanding ourselves and the universe are just hiding in plain sight, waiting for us to notice them?